Hey everybody, welcome to Drive Thru Review 259. Today we're going to talk about King and Assassins here. This is a game from Galacta, and just reviewed a game called Metallum from them. This is also a two-player only game, and just like Metallum, quite a nice game, very nice components, good quality, and two-player only. So I don't know if this is a theme that they have or something new that they're trying to do. But very interesting style game. This is almost like a Mr. Jack or Mr. Jack in New York type of game. Designed by Lucas Wozniak, who also designed a game I reviewed some time ago called 7 Days in Westerplatte, which is also a really good game. So anyway, so let me, before I get too much into it, talk about how this one plays, and then I'll come back and tell you what I think. Okay, so I've got the basic game set up here, and it's not super basic compared to the advanced game, but there's another side of this board here, which has a little bit of rules difference in the setup, and then a slight tweak to the main round deck of cards there. It's not a huge difference, but it does change up the game and add a little bit of replayability to the game. But I'll just show you how to play the basic game. It's definitely enough to let you know how the game works and how it's gonna work. So what the idea of the game is basically one player is the king and the other are the assassins. Now the king is going to, of course, control the king character here who starts on this spot here. And the object of the king character is to navigate his king without him getting killed into one of, on this side, two possible entrances to the castle. Now he has his guards here in blue, and these are set up on these little dot spaces here, as well as up here and up here. And they're going to help him, and the king is going to control basically himself and the guards. Now the assassins player is going to control these different citizens here, and these are just random different village folks that have maybe different professions, different looks to them. So 3 of these are going to be assassins. Now the first thing that the assassin player is going to do is going to look through this deck of cards here. So there's a card matching each special person that is out here on the board. So if we wanted this guy here, whatever he's supposed to be, he looks like some kind of merchant or something, then we would put him down, and then we'd put this guy down, and then of course this lady here, she doesn't look too good, does she? So we're going to put her down, and then those are our 3 assassins. We're going to put the others here away into the box. And then so now we know that this gal here is also an assassin, as well as the merchant here. And who else did I pick? The guy with the fork, right? Nope, the priest looking fella. So this guy here is an assassin. Now, if they ever get revealed as an assassin, let's say at some point in the turn, we'll take him off the board, and then we'll put him there so that everybody knows that was actually an assassin there. So the way a round is going to work is we've got this round cards here, and these are shuffled up here, and depending on which board you're playing on, you'll make up the deck just slightly differently. There's 1 card difference. And then you're going to flip this up here. So you can see the card's actually kind of a weird turn, kind of double-sided thing here. So if I'm sitting on this side, I'll be the king player. I'm going to activate all of my guys, and then the assassin player maybe sits on the other side or vice versa. So this is going to tell you here, so as the king player, I can move my king once, or basically take 1 action with my king, and use up to 5 action points with my guards. And I can do that any order I want. So I can move, like, let's say for example, I'll go over what they all are in a second, but I can do 1, 2, move the guard, 3, 4, and then move the king, and now I've still got, you see, 1 action point left for the guard, so I could maybe move, maybe this guy back or something. So now the king's got, he's still kind of surrounded or something. And then the assassin player then he's going to be able to use up 4 action points. Now the game comes with these nice player aids. They're actually double-sided, so if you take turns being king or assassins, you can see what you can do here. So very simply, the king can move 1, and he uses 1 action point. The guards can move 1. You can also, you can see the rooftops here. So if you're on a rooftop, you can move from rooftop to rooftop for 1 action point. You can jump down from a roof, which makes sense. You can go from here down to there with 1 action point. If you're going to go up, so you have the guard here, he's going to go up a roof. That's actually going to use up 2 of your action points there. Now, if you are a guard, you can actually shove, so to speak, citizens out of the way. So if I was going to move this way, I can move him. It doesn't cost you any extra action points, but you can't like shove them up onto a roof. You can shove them off a roof, or you also can't shove them off the board. So there's a way you can kind of like push and make room as basically all of these citizens are really angry. You just don't know which ones have the ability to kill them. None of them actually like this guy because they're all trying to surround him and sort of pin guards and things. So, but as the guards, you can kind of shove guys aside. And then here, you can see this icon here. And if we take a look at these cards, you'll see that there are cards here with this symbol on here. And this means you can actually capture one of the citizens. So if you suspect that this is an assassin, kind of based on how the assassin player is moving them, then you can capture one of these guys for an action point. Of course, if you, let's say I capture this guy, even though he is an actual assassin, as the assassin player, I'm not going to reveal that. Until, you know, let's say you captured all of them magically and you somehow figured it out or just got lucky, then of course you would reveal, okay, the king has won the game because, you know, we've already captured all three of the assassins. Finally, if this guy does become an assassin, let's say he's revealed, you can actually kill the assassin. You can see that here for one action point. Now the assassins here, they have their own card on this side, and basically it's the same for the citizen or the assassin. The assassins get a little bit more of a bonus to movement if they're revealed. So you can see you can move street to street, roof to roof. You can jump off roofs for one action point, go up, basically climb for 2 action points. The assassin, though, is interesting. You actually climb, you can see here, for 1 action point, and you can jump off a roof for 0 action points. So they get a little bit of that Assassin's Creed action happening here, where they're kind of, you know, doing the parkour, you know, through the roofs in the city and stuff like that. And that does make for some very interesting sort of street play, because you don't want to get too close to the roofs, because if somebody were to jump off here, they could kind of get a free stab at you. Now the assassins can also hit the king for 2 action points. They can also kill a guard basically twice per turn at maximum. At most you can kill 2 guards. You can kill the first one for 1 action point and the second one for 2 action points. But when you hit the king, there's actually, you have to hit it twice. So if you see here, you have the king's health there. If the king takes 1 wound, you're going to flip that over. And then once they take 1 more wound, then, you know, the assassins have won and the king will be dead. So again, the king wins by eliminating or arresting all 3 assassins, or by getting into one of the 2 castle entrances. On the other side, there's only 1 castle entrance. And there's a variable setup where the king kind of waits for the assassin to completely set up, and then they have like kind of 2 spots where the king will go. The assassin will win, of course, by eliminating the king. They'll also win if you go through completely the round deck without having all 3 of your assassins killed or arrested, and the king still hasn't made it to his home. So basically you make it impossible for him to really move through the streets very efficiently. So that is how you play Kings and Assassins. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the overview. If you watched the video I posted just previous to this one, it was about Metallum. And I'm going to say kind of some of the same things initially about this game that I did about that game. Of course, they're 2 very different games game-wise, but both games have great components, nice artwork, clear rules, very simple, sort of straightforward core rule set. I feel like Metallum is a little bit more beat on its bones than this one. But this one's very interesting, and this one's sort of funny to me because I just cannot get out of my head. There's 2 scenes in movies and television that I see when I play this game. Well, first of all, it's a lot like Assassin's Creed, where you've got some yokel moving around in the city, and then you know, if you're the assassin guy, you're trying to sort of, you know, smoke in and smoke out and do some parkour across roofs and stuff and try to get in some quick strikes. Really feels like it's almost Assassin's Creed, the board game. I wish they would have got the license. They maybe would have sold, you know, more copies or something, or maybe they, you know, at least in the States or something. Anyway, but if they can land that license for it, it'd be pretty cool. But the thing it reminds me of is most, if you've seen a movie called Scarface, it was a 1980 release starring Al Pacino, and there's a part of the scene where they assassinate this communist escapee or something. I can't remember what he was. It's early in the movie, and they kind of guide him and kind of coax him and push him through this not a concentration camp, a refugee camp. And then Pacino's character comes in as he goes through a door and then sticks him with a knife and says bad words to him. But I cannot get that scene out of my head. Every time I play this, I'm like, you know, I say the line from Scarface. That's just great. Because it's really not just the 3 assassins and the other people are kind of pointless, But it's kind of interesting because you're kind of feinting and ducking. You're like, oh, that's the guy that's going to kill me. That's the guy that's going to kill me. And that's what happens in the movie. Is the guy's really afraid of these two guys, and he's like, oh, and he's just, you know, he gets kind of herded into sort of like a trough, if you will, out this doorway, and then bam, the assassin comes in there and grabs him. And then it also reminds me thematically of, oh, well, I'm going to talk Game of Thrones here, a slight spoiler, but there's a part in it, I'll do it without spoiling, a part in the movie, or sorry, in the TV show where there is a certain king character that gets something done to him as he's moving through the city. If you've seen Game of Thrones, he doesn't get killed. That's not the part I'm talking about, but there's a certain other thing that happens to the king in the city as he's kind of moving through town. Try not to spoil it, sorry. And it really reminds me of that sort of thematic, because it's kind of a Middle Ages, kind of medieval time period. And so you can kind of play with that in mind too. So I have these two mental images of this Cuban kind of revenge assassination in the refugee camps of Miami, and then also the king having something done to them in Game of Thrones. So it really does kind of feel that way, because you've got these, like I said, you have the other citizens kind of acting as buffers, and it feels almost like a football game, American football, where you've got blockers and linebackers, and then you've got kind of the quarterback as the king, and then you've got these other guys kind of trying to worm their way through the different blocking and stuff. So it's kind of interesting, kind of tactical placement game, which is cool. But it kind of reminds me of kind of those Mr. Jack games too, because you don't know who the assassins are, who Jack the Ripper is. So it has a little bit of deduction element with that too. So very interesting games, nice component quality. Lots of cool stuff there with this one. Definitely, I would take a look at that. If you like that kind of deduction two-player game, plays super quickly. I mean, you can really play this once you kind of just get into it. You can play like 20 minutes, just be moving the guys around, and play super quickly. So anyway, that's King and Assassins. Thanks.